There was a water heater explosion underneath the staircase, and one little boy named Bobby, who was on the staircase, he died later that day. We have a little shrine in the back where people can leave things for Bobby, so he doesn't play like practical jokes on practical issues. Back to the very beginning, the first week of August 1951, there was a movie playing here. There was a water heater explosion underneath the staircase, one of the staircases in the lobby. And when that water heater exploded, it blew out the whole side of the staircase and part of one of the walls into the auditorium. And a bunch of people, about 6 or 8 or maybe 10 people, were really seriously hurt. And one little boy named Bobby, who was on the staircase, he died later that day as a result of his injuries.
The story is that there was a young boy, actually named Bobby Darnall, who died there in an explosion in 1952. And the story goes that if you don't leave something for little Bobby in a little shrine behind the stage of the Kimo, that everything will be ruined. You know, bad things will happen.
Anytime there's a ghost story involving a child, it's usually more tragic, so it gets more attention. It's written about more in books and talked about more, like with the Kimo Theater with Bobby. What's very tragic is having a little boy die that young.
I've had enough unusual experiences in this building that I don't disbelieve. I'm not sure I could say for sure that I really passionately believe about spirits and things like that, but the building definitely has its own character. Several people have seen Bobby here. Not me, I haven't seen him, but a couple of people have, including a fellow just about 2-3 weeks ago. Saw the little boy in the lobby and became concerned because they seemed out of place or lost or something. So he came over to where he had seen the boy, and there was no one there. One of the ladies in the ticket office that used to work here quite a few years ago, she saw him, and there was some people in an office building across the street saw a little boy waving at him out of one of the windows upstairs, and the floor was all locked and there was nobody upstairs.
In fact, in the most famous supposed bad thing happening of a performance at the Kimo Theater, it was a performance of A Christmas Carol. And supposedly this story was that there were donuts being left for this child ghost. And the director of the play said, "Oh, take those donuts down. We don't need those. This is ridiculous." Everyone's like, "No, don't take the donuts down. There's the ghost." And he's like, no, take them down. I'm like, okay. So they did, and apparently everything went wrong. Just everything went wrong. The whole play was ruined. And that was how the story of the Kimo ghost came up. Presumably when a person dies, they're still held in the hearts and minds of loved ones and other people like that. In terms of the idea of a soul or anything like that, it's an interesting idea. There hasn't been any good evidence for that. So there are certain things you just have to take on faith.
The energy that is someone's life goes somewhere. And normally people think that, well, that spirit either goes up or down to a good place or a bad place. And sometimes maybe that spirit isn't really ready to go. And it sort of hangs around.
We don't think the Kimo's haunted. It's a neat building. A lot of it doesn't pan out. For example, it was an adult theater at this time. It wasn't, so the play couldn't have been happening because it wasn't that type of a venue at that time. What we figured out, we were able to replicate that ghost. And what it's caused by, there's a hallway and it's lined with mirrors down the hall. Cars driving on Central Street, their lights hit that and it reflects the light onto a wall. So if you're going through there in the dark, since the light's diffracted, you'll actually see it's car light that moves by, but it almost looks humanish. And if you saw that out of the corner of your eye, you think it was a ghost.
People who report unusual experiences, such as seeing ghosts or experiencing unusual powers or whatever else, oftentimes it comes down to a psychological misperception. So somebody will they'll misunderstand something.
And when you start taking all the testimony of all the people that have seen something, and you put them together, and you look at what's similar, what's different, that's how we're able to figure out that it was a reflection of light. Other than that, it's just a myth. There's no validity to the story. It's just people misunderstanding something natural and assuming it's a ghost.
There's a natural tendency for people to hear stories and repeat them without doing any investigation, which is where I come in. I've been doing the investigations for about 10 years now, and I've investigated hundreds of things ranging from Bigfoot to lake monsters, crop circles, miracles.
He didn't address any of those other claims, which we did address. So, and it's one of the ways. One of the things about being skeptical, a lot of people, it's very easy to try to, if I get rid of the myth, I solve it. But the problem is you're not addressing what people see and what people experience. And to fully investigate it, you need to understand what did they see.
The mystery was finally solved when I investigated that, and I tried to find out, well, which performance was this? And it turned out that there was no performance that was ruined. It never happened. So there was a performance of the Christmas Carol, but nothing bad happened. So the whole story of the Kimo ghost vanished.